Before we begin today's video, I'd like to give a shout out to 3 of our newest subscribers. We have Whalers79, Angelo Ramirez Gonzalez, and Kotaro Atani. Thank you all for subscribing, and welcome to the family. And now on with today's video. Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drahon, back once again with Pathfinder Hero Frame. Because a good base for any character is a good framework. And that is what we are going for today. I am going to be looking at every single ancestry within Pathfinder 2nd Edition, match them up with backgrounds and classes, and see what type of characters are technically possible in case you run out of ideas or you're just starting out and like a certain ancestry but don't know what type of character to create. So today we are looking at the Anadi, a race of spiders that are the size of humans that will use a form of magic that they have made themselves, which is a mixture of transmutation magic and enchantment. No, it was transmutation and illusion magic, not enchantment. I don't know why I said enchantment there. Anyway, they use their illusion transmutation magic to disguise themselves as humans, and sometimes even half human, half spider. Now, when they say human-sized spider, I can't tell if they mean from the tips of their legs to the top of their body, or it's from their head to their thorax they're measuring. Or it's kind of like a TV and you're supposed to measure from a diagonal. So from the front toe to the top of the abdomen? I don't know. But they're still pretty cool. Now, the reason they have this transmutation illusion magic is pretty interesting. And that is because they wanted to establish trade with the other races. But they found out very quickly that arachnophobia is a thing. Not in a hateful way. They just were scared of the Anadi. Now, that's as far as they got with that part of the lore, so, yeah. Trying to make relations with other humanoid races is kind of difficult when you're just a human-sized spider. Again, how is that measured? Anyway, the ancestries that are most common with the Anadi are the adaptive Anadi, polychromatic Anadi, snaring Anadi, spindly Anadi, and venomous Anadi. The Anadi, of course, are peaceful creatures and live in their own settlements, and they do hide their true form unless it is for a very specific reason, like one of their friends is in danger, or they finally trust that their friends won't attack them if they are in their giant spider form. So yeah, that's a good way to roleplay a character. For backgrounds, the artisan, emissary, herbalist, hunter, and scholar are the ones that are recommended, but I can also see the backgrounds of animal whisperer, bookkeeper, fight breaker, and merchant. This is because the Anadi are said to be merchants. They want to establish trade with other races. They just want peace. They will not seek out a fight. They will seek only peace, which is why I thought fight breaker was an interesting background to pick. As far as classes go, the Cleric, Druid, Rogue, Sorcerer, and Wizard are the recommended. The fighter, monk, and ranger seem like good picks as well. Since they did not have any subclasses to choose, I decided to put them here to let you all know that I think they are a good fit for the Anadi, especially since some Anadi are indeed hunters. And again, the monk is more for those peace-loving Anadi who just want to chill. Like, hey, we're here, we don't want to fight, but if you try to fight us, we will punch back. And it's going to hurt. The rogue, according to my sources, is because of those Anadi that really get into character when hiding their true form. I think this would work with the Anadi heritage, the adaptive Anadi, especially when you want to keep your Anadi ancestry hidden. Now, the thing about the heritage adaptive Anadi is that you are very limited with this feature. With just the normal Anadi's transformation, you are able to turn into a human. With adaptive Anadi, this lets you choose a medium, common humanoid ancestry. So you are limited to elf and dwarf still. So keep that in mind. You get to choose a common, medium humanoid ancestry. Your human form is replaced with a form that matches this choice. So if you want to be an elf, there you go. If you want to be a dwarf, there you go. You also gain the adopted ancestry feat for your chosen humanoid ancestry. So this is pretty good for when you are wanting to pass yourself off as one of these common, medium humanoid ancestries. Got it? Awesome. Now, let's go ahead and take a deeper dive into the Anadi. And I thought that this one little fact was weird. Web marriages. The Anadis are communal when it comes to courting one another and raising their young. Most relationships are triads, which means 3, or tetrads. I think that's 5? I don't know. That make up a single household and share domestic responsibilities. So you've got a very interesting setup. I mean, I get it. It's part of their culture. It makes sense. You'll have some... You know that weird show that popped up on television for no apparent reason? You remember those previews for the show Sister Wives? Now mention a sibling series called Brother Husbands. And that is, those two mixed together are these web marriages. Everybody is married to each other here. So there's that. One could consist of 3 hunters who coordinate group hunts, while the other have 4 sages who spend as much time together in the library as at home. These web marriages play a large role in Anadi society. Members of a web marriage vote in blocks during local elections and defend one another to the death in times of strife. This could be a good background, a backstory. Say your entire web marriage was killed. Get over that edgy Anadi. Please don't. But you could have this web marriage be a part of your backstory. Or maybe you haven't decided to marry yet. You want to explore, you want to broker peace, you want to do something before you decide to become married. Maybe you haven't found the right group of individuals to have a web marriage with. It's an interesting thought and a piece of Anadi culture that I wasn't really expecting. Alright, now let's go ahead and jump into the classes. And the first one I wanted to check on was the Alchemist, because the research fields of mutagenist and toxicologist made sense as an Anadi class to pick. The mutagenist, of course, going for that similarity to the Anadi's transmutation and illusion magic that gives them their human form, and the toxicologist for the venomous Anadi, who want to experiment with different toxins. It sort of makes sense to go that route, especially if you are looking to broker peace with other nations. Perhaps you want to figure out what poison is being used against your friendly neighbors. So you use that to your advantage and help your neighbor figure out what is poisoning their kingdom. It makes sense. And you could also go with the argument of there is an anti-magic zone in the area, so in order to still have my disguise, I need to use the Alchemist mutagenist properties to give myself a similar disguise to my human self. Moving on to Barbarian. Now, like I said, the Anadi are more peace-loving. They do not seek out trouble. So it doesn't make much sense to choose Barbarian, but I think when push comes to shove, even the peaceful types will still punch back hard. So I thought Barbarian did make sense, especially with the Barbarian instinct of superstition, which we'll get a little bit more into later. But there is an Anadi NPC known as the Fate Weaver. So it kind of made sense to go that route. But the animal instinct was more for, yes, they are a spider, so it makes sense to go with the animal instinct. But I decided to specifically list the wolf, mostly for the pun of the wolf spider. I thought it was just funny. Moving on to our bard. For your muses, I would say the maestro and the polymath would make the most sense. Nothing else to it. Bards would actually help with the Anadi's ability to bargain peace treaties or whatnot, to calm nations who are in fear, kind of show you that they're not that bad. They're like that one little bitty spider character that's on YouTube I see every so often. What's their name? Charlie the Spider? Have a character like that. It would be funny. Moving on to Champion. This one was another one that wasn't listed, but I thought that the Champion would work in some cases, especially for those who are serving under their deity, which I will get into here in a second. For their causes, the Redeemer and the Liberator make the most sense. Now we get to move on to our Cleric, and our deity is known as the Grandmother Spider, whose symbol you will see on screen. Your domains are creation, change, darkness, family, fate, and trickery. Your edicts, or guidelines, are to be skilled and clever, think for yourself, take due payment for your work, humiliate the powerful, and your anathema, or things that you should not do, or you will be in disfavor of your goddess. So your goddess ain't going to like you too much if you go by these traits. You abuse someone who you have power over, you harm someone who has given you sincere kindness, or you let a slight go unanswered, or you own a slave. So that's cool. The Anadi are not slave owners. That makes sense. Then you have areas of concern. You're concerned about your family. You practice illusions. You tell stories. You live in the twilight, and you are good at weaving. Makes sense. I would say for the story part, it does make sense, because even if you do not have an Anadi cleric, you do have those Anadi that will still tell the stories of the grandmother spider. They still respect their goddess, but they don't outright worship the goddess. They're kind of like not sure what the best way to describe it is. Anyway, moving on is our druid. The two orders that made sense here were the order of the animal and the order of the wild. No explanation really needed. They live in the wilds, mostly in jungles, and they are giant spiders, so animal made sense. Imagine an Anadi with an animal companion who is a spider. I just thought that idea was funny. Or maybe a dragonfly, or maybe they have a little fly friend with them. That would be kind of funny. Moving on to Investigator. For your methodologies, the alchemical sciences and forensic medicine would make the most sense. Like I explained with the toxicologist, you are going to want to figure out what is going on. Who is harming your friends? You're going to want to figure this stuff out in order to help broker peace with your neighboring nations. Moving on to the Magus. Your hybrid studies would probably be the Laughing Shadow, Sparkling Tage, and Twisting Tree. Laughing Shadow is more for those prankster types, much like with the Edicts of the Grandmother Spider. So yeah, I thought that would be pretty useful. And the Sparkling Tage was more for that polychromatic Anadi heritage. You're good with performing. Next is the Oracle, once again tying into the Grandmother Spider. We have the Oracle, which serve almost directly under the Grandmother Spider, or whatever god you are serving. You're sort of the god's mouth. And for your mysteries, ancestor and time would make the most sense. Moving on to the Rogue, I thought it would make sense for the Eldritch Trickster, Scoundrel, and Thief. The Grandmother Spider is known for her trickery, and she promotes being tricky and sneaky. So it makes sense to go with these different rackets. Moving on to Sorcerer, while it was listed, there wasn't really any bloodlines that matched with the Anadi other than the Imperial bloodline. And that's because there wasn't any ties to any other type of bloodline. I mean, sure, you could go with a draconic bloodline and have a draconic spider, but you'd have to have a good reason for this. I don't think there are any connections between the Anadi and dragons. Maybe some sort of cave dragon? I don't know. It just didn't make sense to list anything other than the Imperial bloodline. Moving on to Witch, once again, going into the Fate Weaver Anadi, and also anyone who serves the Grandmother Spider, the Patrons of Fate, and the Wild would probably be the better options to choose. And we have Wizard with your arcane schools of course, Illusion and Transmutation, since those are the two magics that make up the basis of the Anadi's human disguise transformation. And with that being said, that is all I have for you today. What do you think about the Anadi? What type of character would you create using this ancestry? And would there be any heritage besides the baseline heritages that you would pick for the Anadi? I kind of like the idea of an awesomer Anadi, since they would have a better connection to their grandmother spider. But, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below what characters speak to you. What Anadi might you play in your next game? Or maybe you're creating an NPC Anadi. What are they like? Let me know. Until next time, this has been Drehon, and I am offline.